Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Boat Dealer Profits Podcast. This is Matt Selhorst, your host. I'm the creator of the Splash System, and I'm committed to helping you sell more boats, make more money, and have more fun. Today, we have a super exciting guest. She is going to be presenting down at MDCE, has some really great insight into marketing, to PR, positioning, a lot of different areas. Let me read her bio real quick. Samantha Scott, APR, is the owner of Pushing the Envelope, Inc., an award-winning, actually they've won over 40 awards in marketing, communications. They do local and national work since 2006. They offer comprehensive public relations services, branding, social media strategy, internet marketing, event coordination, and the list goes on and on. Samantha is extremely active in her company in giving back. I know she does a lot of work with some of the Humane Society, and that's a big part of their company credo. She's also been awarded by two different publications, the 40 Under 40 Award, which is fantastic, and just has been extremely active with nonprofits and just giving back. So, Samantha, I appreciate you joining us, and I look forward to hearing your sessions down at MDCE. I understand you're doing two of them.
Yes, thanks, Matt. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I am doing a pre-conference workshop and a session this year at MDCE.
That's awesome. So the session that you're doing is moving inventory through positioning and promotion, and the pre-conference workshop, which I love the interaction of those, and actually having a small intimate group where you're really getting you can get down more into some actual work with Show Me the Social Media Money. I love that session title. Tell us a little bit about the pre-conference workshop and some of the topics that you're going to cover there.
Sure. So the workshop is really designed to speak to those who are more advanced in social media use for their business. So this is not for those people who are just kind of starting to get into it or dabbling. We're really talking about how to effectively use it and determine its value. So beyond just posting something, we're going to be discussing advanced skills for matching performance results to goals, and then further to your objectives and budgets, obviously. And then how do you set those budgets to begin with, tracking with Google Analytics and with the individual channels, but also digging into specific content. So as you mentioned, Matt, you can really dig in a little bit more in these workshop sessions. So getting into the buying cycle and determining what content your audience is interested in, how they want to receive it, and when. So it's going to be an exciting time.
Yeah, that's fun. I like when you're able to actually, in your session, moving the inventory, I'm sure there's going to be some great information. And the pre-conference workshop, if anybody listening is going to MDCE, and I encourage you to do that, the pre-conference workshops are something that I think is a great addition to the whole event. And social media, if you're involved in it and you're looking to take it to the next level, that sounds like a great session to be a part of. So what about your main session on the marketing track, moving inventory through positioning and promotion?
Mm-hmm. So that's also going to be an interesting one. This is an intermediate level, and it's talking about how you present your product and or services both on and offline, because photography, videography, keywords, outreach, the customer experience, all of these things factor into the success or potential failure of your sales efforts. So it's presenting the concept of how you lay out your floor plan, how you position your products online, the lighting of those images, even down to the keywords, what motivates and what doesn't, so that you can have the most success both on and offline.
Yeah, I'm a big believer, and I'm sure with your experience, all of the research and all of the shopping, if you want to call it that goes on online, having good images of the right things and video. I'm a huge fan of online video for a lot of different reasons. But how do you see that playing into the marine industry for boat dealers?
Everything that a boat dealer sells is visual. It's all an experience. So this is the perfect time to leverage these kinds of tools. And it is the way that really all of marketing is going, not just in this industry. So, the beautiful part is you guys as dealers have really awesome things to share, beautiful pictures, experience-oriented imagery, showcasing that, giving people the opportunity to imagine themselves in that moment or creating the memories that they could only create by virtue of having your product or taking advantage of your service. But you can also use imagery and videos to showcase your quality, service people, your salespeople, their knowledge, as well as your facility, and really differentiate from other competitors who are selling virtually the same or the same products.
Yeah, and there's so many with I'll go to video specifically, but there's so many different ways that you can use it in a session I haven't released yet with Marcus Sheridan, who's also going to be down at MDCE. One of the things he
He's great.
recommends is, yeah, he's fantastic. He was a great guest. I can't wait for that one to go live. But he recommended, he said, you know what? I think at this point in time, if you're serious about business, most people should have or all people, he said, a videographer on staff. You know, that should just be a huge part of it because there's so many different opportunities to use it, whether it's showing your product, using a testimonial and social proof, educating, which I'm a huge believer in.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your favorite video usage or topics?
Well, I think I would tag on to what Marcus said, you know, because sometimes that could be a little intimidating for folks who might say, well, I can't afford to have a videographer on staff.
Right.
That I would say all of your salespeople and or whomever is in charge of marketing, whether that be your general sales manager or GM or parts person, because lots of people wear different hats, should be that videographer, right? So they should have those skills, whether they get a little training on that or they just learn how to better use their phone for capturing video. Everybody can be a videographer these days really successfully and create good stuff really easily. But in terms of your question, you know, what do I think are some really great types of video to use? How-tos are powerful. That's why YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world behind Google. Because as consumers, we're sort of lazy in terms of how we want to get information or learn because,
Yep.
you know, and I lump myself in there too because we're very busy, we're very distracted, and the average attention span ranges between 3 and 7 seconds. So asking someone to read 10-step directions on how to do something to their boat is not going to happen. But if you show them a 30-second video that walks them through it, well, that's a different story. So how-tos perform really well, but also employee videos, giving your employees a face and helping them stand out. One, it helps specifically from sales or service that they get that kind of promotion. But on the other side, it makes customers feel more comfortable. They already have a rapport, even if it's only subliminal, with those individuals because they've watched them and they can relate to them and they are people. People connect with people.
Yep. One of the things that I teach in my Splash system is do a video where you show yourself, show if you have the buy-in from your family. When I was selling, I had a video of myself, my wife, my at the time 2-year-old daughter, and our dog Lucy. And I was saying, here's the reasons you should work with us. And it was amazing the difference when I implemented that strategy, how people's reaction to me changed from being a salesperson that they wanted nothing to do with and were, fearful of talking to, like I was going to, make them cry or something, to, oh, hey, you're mad. Oh, your dog was so cute. Your daughter in that life jacket was, and it's a world of difference, which makes your sales job not only more fun, but a heck of a lot easier. I noticed you do a lot of videos. You had, I saw on your Facebook page, I think a dog that you recently adopted, or maybe that was some work with your Humane Society. I don't know.
Yes, well, both actually. Angus. He is the newest Scott family member, and he just had heart surgery last week. He was a foster from the Humane Society, and he's going to be sticking around. So that's
awesome. Congratulations. I love the, if you haven't checked out Samantha's social media, definitely go to Pushing the Envelope has a Facebook page, and there was a video of Angus wearing a Superman costume, and one, I think he was wearing like some army gear or something, but he has a cowboy outfit, sheriff kind of thing, and he did have Superman too. Yeah, we were going to a pet costume fundraiser event, and he had to look the part, Yeah, exactly, and it just goes to show you, Samantha and I, we spoke at MDCE. Was that maybe 3 years ago? Where I first was introduced to you, and I haven't talked to her since, but that because she had that video on her social media, that video out there for me to consume, there's that instant reconnection from a 3-year kind of gap. And it's those types of things where you just can't recreate that with many other things than video. It's certainly an easy one to do. So I love the connection. Content. Well, yeah. And it's fun. It's entertaining. And then you mix all the other styles of and opportunities that you have with video. And I like, Samantha, one of the other things you said, that it doesn't have to be hiring a videographer. It just has to be a videographer. You've got a one of the best cameras that 20 years ago, the camera in your pocket would probably be close to the high-end cameras that a consumer would buy. And now it's in your pocket. You can take a video, you can upload it in 5 minutes. I think that's a great opportunity for if people just look for it.
Right. And I think that's one part that can be a little bit intimidating is the focus on multimedia as it comes to social media and how do you use that effectively for your business. I talk with a lot of business owners and marketing professionals through my speaking engagements and our clients. And, they'll tell me like, yeah, I know I need photos. I know I should have some video, but how do I create that? I can't afford, to hire a firm or to hire a person to do that, or even a vendor to do that on a regular basis. And we help people understand that this isn't something insurmountable. Use your iPhone, use your Android, and there's a couple of little tips and things to really enhance that. Hold it horizontally, don't do it vertically. Make sure your lighting is good, all little details. And then some really inexpensive, even free tools that you can use to edit those to really make it look professional. Doesn't take a ton of time, doesn't cost a lot of money, and can drastically improve the content and the results on your social media.
Yeah, and I assume one of the things you do is work with dealers and say, hey, here are 20 or 50 ideas on content that you could create, and when that opportunity arises, just take it. Is that
absolutely
one of the? I know you guys have your Compass service. Is that one of the things in the strategy?
That's not part of Compass necessarily, but we certainly do work with clients in terms of shot list planning, the evergreen kind of opportunities like what you're talking about, where we can say at any time these are great things to capture, but then also month by month thinking about what's coming up. Are there holidays, are there special events, are there promotions or plans? Are you pushing a certain kind of boat in the summer versus a different one in the wintertime? Maybe it's service in this time of year versus sales, and trying to be mindful of that as you're crafting content. But the most successful tool in your toolkit is your plan. Planning ahead is everything. The adage says failure to plan is planning to fail. So, just think about, take 15 minutes and jot down what are the 10 videos I want to do over the next 3 months or whatever period of time, and then scratch them off as you go.
Yep. Yeah. And it's amazing when you have that list in front of you. Not only will you knock that list out quickly, you'll be walking through the service shop and say, oh, I wanted to do one about winterization, and there's 4 boats lined up in your service shop, getting winterized. Oh, what a great backdrop and showing what the tech's doing. Or I did one on the outdrive that was just eaten up because they didn't change their zincs. And you can explain to people you gotta this is a maintenance thing you need to do every now and again depending on what water you're in. But when you show the video of a drive that's just all corroded and nasty, and then you show one that's brand new, and you say, for a $300 service job, you could avoid a several $1,000 repair if if it gets too bad. And that video, if you have your list, if you're on the lookout, I mean, it almost makes it not done for yourself, but it makes it so easy that you just can't help but do it.
Absolutely. And for those people who are in charge of doing the marketing and then reporting back to someone else, you have that to go off of, right? You can go back to your boss and say, these are the things that we agreed to, and this is the plan, and here's where I'm at so far, really setting yourself up for success ultimately. But also planning allows you to do work ahead of time. And, God forbid you get sick, or if you want to take a vacation, you're able to do that without skipping a beat on your business's social media, even if you're not there.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's stay on the video and the images, but let's talk it in terms of inventory. Because I think there's a enormous opportunity for dealers that, one, are using stock manufacturer images for the boat that's showing a red boat cruising down the water, and it's actually a black boat with the wake tower, or who knows what the what the mismatch is, or the they're not using video. What are just a handful, without giving away everything that you're going to share at your talk, what are just a few tips that you see as easy implementable improvements?
Sure. One is consistency in where you're taking the photo and how you take it. Nothing looks more disorganized than when you're scrolling down the inventory page and you're looking at, oh, here's this boat from the side, here's this one from the front, here's this one outside, here's this one on a trailer, here's this one in the water. It's very distracting. When you think about an average attention span of 3 to 7 seconds, consistency allows people's eyes and brains to process information faster, and we process images thousands of times faster than we do text. So by keeping it consistent, it allows us to absorb that information and then move on quicker or show interest quicker. So consistency in the angle and the lighting in the presentation is really, really important. Another point would be actually photograph your inventory. Like you're saying, if you're using a stock image that does not represent accurately what you have in stock, you're doing yourself and your customer a disservice ultimately. My husband happens to be looking for a new truck right now, and it's very frustrating to him when he goes on these dealer websites and he's looking for something and he says, oh, they have this, but I can't see the actual picture, so I don't actually know what it looks like on the inside. Well, maybe I'll move on to a different dealer who has real pictures. And then by virtue of that, he's more interested in that other dealer simply because they have actual pictures. So take the time to do that. And then another is be aware of reflections. You know, it looks really silly and unprofessional when you see some of the interior shots, or maybe you see some exterior that have glass or mirrors or things like that, and you can see the person taking pictures in it, either in the reflection, in the shadow. It just doesn't look good. So those are some really simple ways to improve the photography of inventory on websites and social.
Yeah, and these are things that Samantha, that are free. I mean, you know, it's not like it's going to take fancy equipment. You got your smartphone. You know, everybody these days has one, and there's, you know, without being despair, it's lazy to not do it. You know, it just shows you're not serious about your business, in my opinion.
And you are a consumer, right, Matt? So
yeah,
you know, that's the way that people think, even if they're not thinking to that level of detail, subliminal. That's the perception, is that these people don't care, they're slacking off. You know, and then in the session we go into discussing how you complete the description. How detailed are you? How organized is it? Are you presenting the most important information first? You know, these are just classic sales things that should be applied online, just the same way a really great salesperson would do in person.
Right. And the description is, you have anywhere from no description to, you know, you just copy and paste from the manufacturers, and there's a list of, you know, 3 pages long of bullet points, and some of them may not apply to that boat. And it's, you know, do you have a formula or a template for writing things like that to keep it consistent, or to keep it, you know, top the first point is about this, the second point is, any suggestions there?
Yeah, suggestions. The format changes depending on the client, the product, and, you know, things like that. But the idea would be to focus on what's most important to your customer. What's most important to you as someone who is intimately familiar as a boat dealer may not be the same, right? So I know my craft extremely well, and I might search for specific terms or things if I'm evaluating another company that does the same thing that I do. But that's not the way that my clients would look at it. The same for a boat dealer. What a consumer is looking for might be, you know, what's the fuel economy? You know, what's the size? What's the berth? What's all these kind of things? Those things might be important to them because they're going to be using this, versus what's important to the salesperson, right? That salesperson might say, well, this differentiates it from this other one, and that's important. That consumer may not know that point. It may not be relevant to them. So the first is evaluating that. What are the top 3 questions that your customers are asking you about this particular product line, or this type of boat, or this part of your inventory? Those things should be identified first. Then you start looking at keywords. What are those popular keywords by search volume that people are using to look for these types of inventory? Those keywords need to be in the descriptions. And then always in your descriptions, have links to interior pages, landing pages, or otherwise where people can get more information and a call to action. And then don't give away the farm. You know, you want to give them a lot of information so they can make clear decisions and understand that you are providing value and you know what you're talking about, and this is a real item. But you don't want to give everything away so that they don't have a reason to contact you. So, you know, maybe there's special internet pricing if they fill out this form and you get their contact information, or if they want to make a phone call, if they want to sign up for text information, you know, make it convenient for them.
Yeah, I love that you put call to action in there. That is such a simple thing, and it can be virtually the same on every single listing. But you know, here are the 3 ways that you can get more information. You know, click the whatever button, call us or email us, and whatever the service provider allows, because I know some of them are tight. But that's such a key one. Those are great pieces. Anything else on the inventory side of things that that I know as you have had boats and have gone through that process, especially with your husband shopping for trucks right now, anything that he's been, man, Samantha, this drives me crazy, and you hear about it and put that into your presentation?
Yeah, you know, I think just making sure that stuff is accurate, and then don't pester people. If you do get somebody on the hook, you know, don't keep hammering them, because eventually they're going to just mute you and stop answering your phone calls or your text messages. But that's just being a good salesperson in general. You know, I think just making sure that the photos and the information are accurate. That's the most important thing, because now as consumers, we have so many different avenues for getting information that if what you give me either isn't correct, takes too long to load, takes me to the wrong place, or is otherwise inconvenient or inaccurate, I don't trust you as the consumer, which I'm speaking for consumers overall when I say that.
Yep.
And then if it's inconvenient, especially, then I'm moving on to the next best, easiest thing.
Yeah, because they're one click away from doing a whole nother search that can give them a whole nother
Absolutely.
list of 10,000 choices to click on next, and they're anxious to do that if they don't find what they're looking for right away. That's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
And then just the other part is making sure, however you choose to do it with your call to action, you have some tracking. That's the part too where I see businesses can be successful in that they're posting decent content, they're getting engagement that side, but they're not tracking it. So, use UTM codes, use landing pages, use even just customized links like Bitly, or even Google has those now, so that you can really see what content is performing, what channels, what listings, et cetera, are performing, so that you can continue to refine and enhance.
Yeah. Explain UTM codes if you would.
Sure. So UTM codes are essentially extensions on URLs, and it gives you the opportunity to track specific campaigns. So for instance, if I was doing social media content on a Facebook page for a dealer, and I'm posting 3 types of content generally over the course of the month, one would be promoting an event we have coming up, one would be about new inventory, and one would be about used inventory in general, right? So you're sending that traffic back to your website with links. Well, if you looked at Google Analytics, I could see we had, say, for instance, 300 leads from Facebook that month. I would not be able to tell what content directed those leads, but if I had a UTM code for each type of content, one for events, one for new, one for used, I would be able to determine that. So I could say, of those 300, it was not an even split between each, but we had massive interest in new inventory, a little bit of interest in used, and then the least amount was interest about the event.
Yep.
So UTM codes are an easy, free way to do advanced performance tracking.
Yeah, and that's something that if you're working with somebody doing your social media or doing some of your digital marketing, these are things as a dealership owner that if you're doing it yourself, you need to be aware of. And if you're hiring somebody to do that, you need to make sure that they're doing those things. So that's not, hey, let's just throw this up against the wall and we don't know what works. It's just a gut feel or a hope and a prayer, versus working with somebody like Samantha that, hey, not only are we going to make this investment every month, but we're going to make this investment and we're going to be able to improve over time and build the snowball. I think that's a key piece to the digital marketing world now.
Yeah, and Matt, you're right. And that's the beautiful part about digital media, whether it's mobile or email or social. Every single component of it can be tested and measured, and it's extremely nimble. So if you're seeing a campaign not working and you're halfway through the month, drop it and switch over to the one that is working. But know from the get-go, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? If that's awareness, leads, clicks, downloads, etc. And then how you're going to track that, whether that be specific campaign tracking, like through UTM codes, which even if you are a boat dealer owner or marketing individual, you can learn how to create UTM codes. They're very, very simple and how to track them, or if it's conversion goals on your website, etc. But that's the beautiful part. You should be able to determine the ROI of every digital effort you or whomever is doing it for you is doing, and then make informed decisions going forward. Analytics, for the sake of analytics, is nothing. It's how do you tie that into action? That's where the value comes in. You should be able to gain insights that create action and change.
Yeah, one of the things with the Splash system that I'm a firm believer in, I think it applies to most everything, and you even said it earlier, is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you don't have an overarching strategy and game plan to approach this stuff that says we're not just going to do Facebook and do Instagram and redesign our website, if you don't have an overarching marketing and sales plan together that includes tracking on what working, that includes, and I think you are somebody that gets this as well, have the correct messaging that we're using and developing a solid message for your dealership, and you have a communication strategy after the fact, what I call a 24/7 selling machine, and all the way a sales framework and a lifetime value relationship building machine. Talk to me about the messaging, because I'm interested to hear your take on developing the right messaging and how you think about that for the boat industry.
Well, the first part for the boat industry and really any is establishing what your unique value proposition or unique selling proposition is. In the boat industry, you might be a dealer and 20 miles away, there's another dealer who's selling the exact same thing. How do you compete? Because in the eyes of a consumer, it's all the same, right? Where can I get the best price might be what they're looking for, a specific model. So knowing and defining exactly what your unique value proposition or unique selling proposition is the first place. Where are we absolutely excellent, and how are we different from our competitors, whether they're close or far away? And then the second is what we call a brand voice. We created this process years ago because we are developing social media content for a variety of different businesses. If I'm writing on behalf of pushing the envelope on Facebook versus writing on behalf of a physician or a boat dealer or a restaurant, that needs to sound different. It needs to have the right keywords and have the right voice. So creating a brand voice for your business. Are you more formal? Are you informal and casual? Are you informative, or are you more fun-based? Are you focused on lifestyle? What age demographic are you trying to reach, and what are keywords that resonate with them? And then what are things that should never, ever be written in your social media or any other kind of content, because they're just phrases or words that don't relate to your brand or what you're interested in promoting. So those two components, your unique value proposition and then your actual brand voice, play a really big role in your message. And then the message should be focused on what your overall marketing strategy is. What are you trying to accomplish? Grow audience, nurture existing audience, get new sales, focus on service. What are you trying to do? All of those components really factor in.
Yeah. Do you have a process that you go through to figure out that voice for when you're working with the client?
We have a form that we've created, and we edit it from time to time, but it really just talks about tonality, keywords, target audiences. You just think about ask yourself, what are the factors that could affect the way that I present my business to our target audiences? So who are you trying to reach? The way that I would speak to someone who's in their 20s versus the way I would speak to someone in their 60s is very different. So that should be taken into consideration. What kind of product am I trying to sell? Ultimately, what is my goal? What even geography are you in, right? Because there's certain, phrases or things that are used in the Northeast that are not used in the South or the Northwest, stuff like that. So all those kind of things come into consideration. And then what kind of tonality? Because ultimately, what someone experiences in terms of communication with your brand online should be exactly the same experience they have in store. So what kind of phraseology do you use in store? Are there certain phrases or questions or words that you use? Those should be used online too, because I've seen so many businesses say, "Oh yeah, my teenager does our social media, etc." Well, then if you look at it,
it sounds like a teenager is doing their social media.
Exactly. So I'm not saying that young people can't. I think I'm still considered a younger person. I am technically a millennial. Doesn't mean that they can't do a good job. It just means they need to have the support structure and strategy in order to be successful.
Yeah. And one of the things that that I do when I'm writing for myself is I'll put a picture up of one of my clients that's the perfect person to utilize that service that I'm talking about, and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Just they'll call it an avatar or whatever
persona.
Persona, whatever you're going to refer to it as. But I'll put the picture of that person up as I'm putting it together, and it's amazing how, if you pretend like you're talking directly to the person that you want to be selling it to or communicating with, how that you can get that tone a lot easier. And I'm assuming that you have a lot of expertise in that and getting the right vernacular and getting the right almost personality into the copy that you're writing.
Yeah, that's a great example, Matt, of how to do that. We keep our brand voice documents front and present when we're writing any kind of content. So similar to that kind of visualization of this is the individual that we're talking to. But another idea is look up different lexicons, that are specific to your industry, because that helps you come up with all different kinds of adjectives or terminology to keep your content fresh. So sometimes that can be helpful too. Don't be afraid to use resources like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's make a quick jump. It's not because I think everything in the marketing world is so interrelated today. It's not like you do a print ad and then you let your sales guys or salespeople go to town like it used to be. Everything kind of is interwoven. So let's move over to the social media. What are, let's say, 3 of your best tips that are inexpensive, easy to implement for people as it relates to pick your favorite social media for the marine industry?
Oh my goodness! Wow. Picking 3 is really challenging.
You're like, how long do we have? Because that's one of the when I talk to dealers, they're like, what's the one thing we need to do? And you're like, you probably have a similar reaction. Like, there's no more one thing. There's no magic bullet.
Right.
if there was, everybody would have figured it out and it would have stopped working by now. The one thing is now, a bunch of things that are integrated and have an overarching strategy and system in place. But I'm gonna put you on this. I told you I wouldn't throw you any curveballs. Here I am. In the before we start the podcast, I talk and I'm like, there's nothing scripted. I don't have any laid out questions. We just see where the conversation goes. But I promise I won't throw you curveballs. And here I am, Samantha, throwing you a tough one. But give me just some of your favorites. We'll go with that.
Sure. So I would say for one is just being really sensitive to your varying target audiences. Almost no business has one singular audience, especially boat dealers. You might be dealing with novice first-time buyers versus someone who's owned a couple of boats, or maybe someone that's switching styles. My husband and I have owned a couple of boats. We went from a sailboat to a cruiser, sport cruiser, very different. So we had to learn all of those differences. And, my experience and what I was looking for, what I needed from a dealer as a first-time buyer versus a repeat was very different. So no, your audience varies, and it's really important for you to address them where they are and give them the kind of content that's going to help them. So that might mean creating a series of videos for first-time buyers, things they should know or questions they should ask, versus, some more advanced content for your seasoned boaters. Also keeping in mind new customers versus repeat customers. Nurturing your existing audience is a lot different than acquisition. And if your content is solely focused on acquisition, it's going to turn off your existing customers, which are, by the way, your most valuable because they become repeats.
Yep.
So that's one point. It's just, the targeting. I would say that would be a really important tip. We talked extensively already about measurement. That is everything. My husband likes to give me a hard time. I can't balance a checkbook to save my life. But when you want to talk about analytics for marketing, I can do it all day. So that's incredibly important. Just to know where you stand and how your channels are performing. And then I would say one of my favorite channels would be Instagram. It's incredibly flexible. You can do videos, you can do photos, and it's really something that I think boat dealers underuse. Because what you do is so visual, right? So everything, the experience, the new products, behind the scenes, the manufacturing of it, all of those components are incredibly interesting. And I like to say that social media is a hungry beast and it wants gourmet content. So whenever you can feed it more pictures, more video, that kind of stuff, it loves it. And your customers ultimately love that. Also, you have the benefit of an expanded audience because hashtags are so prevalent on Instagram. If a post has at least one hashtag, it has a 12.5% higher engagement rate than those that don't have a hashtag. So automatically, you're able to enhance your audience, grow that, and engage more individuals. And you can also customize the content that's on your feed. So even if you've been on Instagram for a really long time and you have thousands of posts, you can now go in and edit that and archive things. So your your news feed is more organized, which is really cool. You can't do that on other channels. There's just tons of ways to leverage that resource.
Yeah, and you mentioned it's such a visual product that we have. I think in over 50% of the interviews I've done, we come to that point that the lifestyle and just everything lends itself to photos and to videos and to the medias that in our favor are so predominant in the online world today, and the online world is so dominant in the overall culture.
Absolutely. People are constantly, just look around, taking photos of themselves and other things, videos. People don't leave home without their smartphones. You said earlier, just about everybody has one now. So get on that train, take advantage of it, but also be part of the conversation. We've seen a lot of success with boat dealers or manufacturers who are engaging that conversation. People are really into fishing. They're sharing pictures of that, or they're talking about it, and they're using popular hashtags. Well, be part of that conversation, engage with them. Even if you're not sharing your own content all the time, comment on other people's stuff, like it, engage it with it. It's not a if you build it, they will come scenario where I created this Instagram account, now people are going to follow me magically. That's not how it works.
Yes. We were out for dinner last night. It was my wife's birthday, so my two girls and my wife, we went to dinner, and sitting we have a no phones during dinner policy in our house, whether at dinner or at the dinner table here. And you're sitting at the restaurant having a nice dinner, and there's a family of four and everybody has their phone out and they're in their phone. And I mean, that's
Yep.
that's the world that we live in. I try not to participate in that part of the world, but you have to understand that's what your clients are doing. And this was not it wasn't a super fancy restaurant, but it was a mid-scale restaurant where these are people that are likely, the boat buying income level. And you know what? They're doing it. Don't think that your clients are so wealthy or are so this or so that they're not participating in that, and they're not looking at their phones or Facebook or whatever the social media is. Do you have any stats or any of the most recent research on kind of user levels and incomes and ages and that kind of thing to kind of debunk some of those myths out there?
Yeah, I do. Actually, give me a second. I can pull that up because I put some together in a presentation that I just did in Vegas last week.
If you don't know, while you're looking that up, I'll stall here.
Yeah.
Samantha spoke at the RV dealer conference last week as we're recording this anyway, in Las Vegas, and did a couple sessions out there. And so the giving quality content is not something that she just talks about, but she actually preaches it and is a very sought after speaker and expert in the marketing world. So we're glad to have her on the podcast for sure.
Thanks. Yeah. So for one thing, Facebook definitely has the biggest audience by far. I think the last I heard was 800 billion people are on that, or some kind of crazy number.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. Numbers that you don't even realize that there are that many people in the world. But those kind of things are definitely out there. It's definitely the 800-pound gorilla. And, I like to start with that because people say, oh, is Facebook passe? There's so many other social media channels now. Is it really still relevant? Yes, it is. And then the other question I get often is, well, my audience is 55 or 60 plus. They're not on Facebook. They don't use that. That's completely false. They certainly do use that. And in fact, that audience is the fastest growing segment on Facebook these days because people, 18 or younger to, 40 years old or so have already been on Facebook for some time. So that's not a growing audience necessarily. They're certainly present, but that older demographic, 55, 60 plus, are getting on that bandwagon and rapidly because they realize that's the best way to keep in touch with their family, their friends, etc. So, Facebook, 1.95 billion. I was a little off there.
That's still a huge number. And, my parents are in their 70s, early 70s. And I swear to you that they're always on Facebook. I mean, my dad's he's always got his phone out. And if there's nothing going on, he's checking his Facebook to see, if somebody commented on his funny picture post or whatever the heck he did. And if he sees a boat, I mean, we've got a lake house and 2 boats at our lake place in the Ozarks in Missouri. And if he sees anything with the boat or water or, it doesn't even have to be something exactly. If it's even water, he's checking it out because that instantly grabs his attention. And in the 70 plus demographic. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just some interesting facts there. Midweek is the best time to post between 1 and 3 p.m. with the only variance being that if you do post in the evening, if you post at 7 p.m., you are likely to get much more engagement than 8 p.m., which is kind of interesting.
Yep.
And then YouTube, I mentioned, it's the second largest search engine in the world. It gets about 30 million visits a day, and nearly 5 billion videos are watched per day. So that's pretty incredible. Just crazy numbers that we're seeing there. Yeah, and in terms of audience with YouTube as well, the majority of what I would probably consider most dealers' audiences, that kind of 35 to 55 audience, that makes up about 40%, which is the lion's share. It's broken down 7% around the 55 to 64 age, and it gets significantly smaller as you age up. And obviously there's a larger number towards the end, but 40% or roughly of the people that watch YouTube videos are right in that sweet spot.
Yeah. It's I love YouTube. When I was actively selling, and I stopped actively selling in 2000. Let's see, 11, 13. Must have been 2014. My last trophy was 13. 2014. And I did boat, or 95% of video boat walkarounds. So here's a boat we have for sale. Let me tell you about it. 3 to 7 minutes of let me tell you about this boat for sale. Give me a call. Come in. Call to action. Over 500,000 video views, and some of them were 30, 40, 50,000 video views on a single video. And I would get calls every day, well, every week, we'll say, from those, because I had a tracking number on it, and I knew YouTube lead, and I could go back, and that was, I mean, shoot, that was 5 years ago. I started in 2009 doing that, and it's only gotten more and more prevalent. Yeah.
Phone tracking, that's a great point. We talked about links and UTM codes, but good old phone tracking works too, and knowing where sources are coming from, that's important. And that, so visual, knowing, like, right, a 3 to 7 minute walk around video is great for someone who's intensely interested. I mean, I remember watching tons of those when we bought our second boat, but it's also good to do little teasers, 30 seconds, here's some highline, and then if you want to see more, watch this, because now we're seeing anything over 2 minutes, people aren't watching it. But the beautiful part is about YouTube, you can watch the dropout rate. You can see, are they dropping out 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes in? What's the attention span of your audience? So all good stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
Then, Instagram, talked about them. It's largely female, 18 to 29, so definitely skews younger. But 50% of users follow at least one business on that channel, which I think is important, because when you look at stats, okay, great. If they have millions of people that are on their channel, well, are they actually engaging with brands, or are they just hanging out with their friends? That's an important point to keep in mind. Yeah,
that's because it's that, you call it a conversation, that engagement or the conversation that's happening is, it's the world of marketing has changed from 5-10 years ago. That it's just a different approach in following up and maintaining those relationships and starting the relationships as well. We're getting close to the end here. There's one question I wanted to ask before we talk about your MDCE stuff and give a quick plug for that. Any tools you mentioned with the video and the photos, that there's some cheap and easy tools. Any easy apps or tools that people can look at for just everything that covers what we've talked about today that would be helpful or useful that they may not be aware of?
So a couple things. Canva is a really great resource. It's CANVA. That's a really great design tool. It's online. There's a free version and a low-cost paid version, and it allows you to create really cool memes or cover images or even flyers or more. So you can become a designer overnight by using that tool, which is pretty handy. So when you're taking those images. And then obviously looking at filters, those kind of things. There's a number of Adobe products that you can download. They're apps. So if you are doing that kind of stuff on your phone, you don't even have to use your computer to make those kinds of edits. Like Photoshop Express is one. There's also Luminance and PicLab are handy tools you can use from photo perspective, and video editing you can do on there as well. And then actually most phones now, you don't even need apps. You can actually edit photos or pick which section of your live photo or video right within the phone itself without an app.
Yeah, the technology today, I mean, this is stuff that used to cost thousands and thousands of dollars, just 10 years ago. And now it's either built into your phone or it's a, $5 app and you're, doing what the professionals can do. That's awesome. Hey, if you would do me a favor, if you would send me an email with a couple of those links, I'll put them in the show notes. If anybody is interested in checking those out, they can get them from the show notes. But I want to, before we finish up, if you found value in this conversation, I really encourage you to go to MDCE just in general. That it's a place, if you're serious about the boat business and you're a dealer, you should be. And if you're there and this conversation resonated with you, you're on the more advanced sides of social media, check out the pre-conference workshop that Samantha's doing. Show me the social media money. Having watched her present, and this was several years ago, you will definitely have a great experience. You'll come away with actionable stuff. And if you're not at the advanced level, her other session of what's your other session?
The moving inventory through positioning and promotion. That is intermediate.
Yeah, so that one right there is if you're a dealership owner or if you're the marketing person for your dealership, that's one that you just should be at. The ability to position your inventory properly on your online listings and do all of the little things right. I can promise you there are some things that you'll pick up there that will be valuable the day you get home. You'll be able to implement them. Anything else that you'd want to share about your sessions? Any giveaways or little things that you're going to have there?
Yeah, there's going to be takeaways. They are outlined on MDCE's website, because I don't remember what all of them are, but there's a number of them with each one, to be honest. But you can check those out. And then also, I always let people have copies of the presentation, so I send them a link after the fact. You're welcome to use that. And then just make sure, especially if you're interested in the workshop, that you bring your computer and then you have access to your Google Analytics, because we're going to walk through a number of hands-on exercises in terms of how to create conversion goals and how to set up some Facebook ads in a more advanced manner than what people might be used to. So make sure you bring your tool to the workshop.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Facebook ads, we didn't even get into that. If you're using Facebook and you're not using Facebook ads, go to Samantha's session. It's you will be wowed at what Facebook knows about you, and not that they're getting it because you're giving that to them. It's because of the partners that they have that have this massive database of information that they're pulling from. And it's extremely accurate and scary if you're not using it for good. But definitely need to check those out. Samantha, I appreciate it. Where can people get in touch just with you if they happen not to be going to MDCE because of conflict or whatever, and they would like to learn more about you and what you're all doing? How can they get in touch?
Sure. On almost every social media channel, our username is @GetPushing. So you can check us out on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Or you can visit our website, which is getpushing.com.
And that web link and some the major social media links will be in the show notes. If you're checking this out at boatdealerprofits.com/podcast, you can get that there, and they'll also be in the show notes at iTunes and Stitcher Radio. So Samantha, hey, I really appreciate you joining us for this conversation and being so open, sharing so much. Get down if you're in Orlando in a couple weeks for MDCE. Check out her session. Make sure you say, hey, heard you on the podcast, and that's why we're here. And Samantha, I will be seeing you. I'll be seeing you in Orlando, and you may see me in your session.
Absolutely. Well, that's great, and I appreciate the opportunity, Matt, and what you're doing to help educate other people. We're always happy to help.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, and everybody, we will see you next podcast. Hey, that was a great interview with Samantha Scott from Pushing the Envelope. She has a lot of great insight to share with the digital marketing world, social media, the content piece, as well as the inventory piece. We got a lot of great insight from her. You can continue the conversation. Any of the links that we talked about will be in the show notes that you can go and check those out. If you're interested in learning more about the Splash system, and you're interested in how you can sell more boats, make more money, and have more fun in the boat business, here are just a few ways that you can check into that. One, I've got some new webinars that are coming out. If you go to boatdealerprofits.com/webinar, you can go there to check out all of the latest webinars. There's some replays there as well. If you're interested to see where you have opportunity in your dealership, you can go to the scorecard that we've created at it's called our Boat Dealer Profits Scorecard. And you can see how you're doing in each of the 7 key areas of a Splash dealership. And that's at boatdealerprofits.com/scorecard. You can go directly there. It's just a real simple. You score yourself in these 7 key areas, and you find out where you need to focus. Maybe a great thing to do before MDCE, and it'll help you select the sessions that are going to be most useful for you. If you enjoyed the podcast, you can check out Boat Dealer Profits TV, the Boat Dealer Profits blog, listen to other podcasts. Go to boatdealerprofits.com. And you can get into the blog and the resource section there and check that out. If you're interested, you say, hey, you know what? This Splash system seems interesting to me. You can go to boatdealerprofits.com/apply. And there you can learn more about the Splash system. There's a lot of descriptions about what it's all about, how it works. There's some videos in there as well that you can check out. And if you have interest in talking to me, I don't ever ask anybody to invest in the Splash system. What I ask you to do is say, hey, this may be right for us. And go ahead and fill out the quick form there that will lead you to scheduling a call where we can get on the phone, talk about your boat dealer, your boat dealership, where you're strong, where you have opportunities for improvement, if or how we can help you, and if the Splash system is right for you. I can promise you, if you enjoy the podcast and the other content I put out, my boating industry articles, that a one-on-one strategy session with me will have tremendous value whether we work together or not. And if we do work together, I can guarantee the results, because the Splash system is 100% guaranteed with my personal $50,000 in additional profits guarantee, which again you can check out at boatdealerprofits.com/apply. So hey, I thank you for joining us. If you're down at MDCE, you can check me out at my booth. 740 something. I don't know what the number is, but look in the magazine that you get when you're there. Stop by and say, hey, let me know what you think of the podcast. And I really would look forward to and enjoy meeting you there. So anyway, with that all, we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.